Hey guys, I know I just did a Rivals related video recently, but I've been meaning to do this for a while, ever since like June, so I'm a little late to the party. But yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about this art project that I did starting more or less at the beginning of the year, where I wanted to draw as many Haporiverse characters in the style of Marvel Rivals as possible. Now, a few big points there. One, I don't think I'm a very good artist, as I'm sure you will be able to tell. I make a lot of mistakes, and especially digital art. Digital art, I've been drawing on paper most of my life, but I don't draw all the time, so I wouldn't consider myself an artist really. So this was already a pretty ambitious idea. This was just for fun, right? This was about 40 days where I uploaded a drawing every single Friday and Monday. I'm just going to kind of walk through and just kind of point out things or like fun facts about each drawing or whatever. You know, just something, maybe something fun. Maybe you'll learn something. I don't know. Just kind of understand where my head was at during this whole thing, because it's a very interesting little series of drawings that I drew. This was mostly done because I was like, we had this old concept for a Haporiverse fighting game at the time, and then I went like, I was thinking about like, oh, wouldn't Renzo be so cool? Because I was playing a lot of Rivals at the time. I was like, wouldn't Renzo be really cool if it was like Rivals? And then I was like, well, you know what makes more sense than Renzo? Like, there's more characters like Camilio and like Kasai. Like, you want to see as many characters from this universe as possible. I really built up the first drawing in my mind. I was really excited to draw him. I had so many specific ideas and concepts. And we ended up getting Camilio. And he is a bastardization of a lot of those ideas. So, what happened with Camilio? Well, a few things happened. So, I spent so much time on this drawing. I got called away so many times. I had to do a lot. And I don't think he really turned out that good. So, I'm going to just kind of break down why I don't really like this drawing. And it's like, no shit, Renzolian, you know, like, he doesn't look very good. But you know, there's things that so first of all, when I started drawing him, a lot of artists might draw a silhouette with a pose so that they know what they're drawing, especially if it's like a full body shot like this. That's another thing. I don't draw full body shots very often. I usually just draw like a simple like from the top up, from the waist up, sort of. That's usually how I draw stuff at most. So it was already a bit of a challenge for me. I didn't do that. I didn't draw a silhouette. I started with the neck, and he was originally having a jacket. That's why you also notice there's some funkiness going on and some inconsistencies going on. That's because I had to erase. There was basically a jacket like swinging across here, or I think it went this way. I think it went like this, and it sucked. It was awful. It was genuinely horrible. And and then I also figured, oh, you know, Richter has a jacket, and Prof is gonna have a jacket. Why does Camilio need a jacket? Probably because I was basing it off of like 3 different versions of Camilio. One of them being the Paladin, cool looking Camilio that was gonna be in Christmas 3. That was also a look that I was going for. So everything kind of put together just kind of built up to this being just the worst version of it. And again, like, there's some details that are really fun, but then others, like, I do actually like the fact that he's got a bit of a goop arm. I think that's kind of cool. But then the watch is so beefy for no reason. His pose sucks. Like, why is he not holding the 2 guns that he's going to be fighting with? He's just not even properly hold. This is going to be something you're going to notice a lot, actually, is a character's not holding guns the way they ever would hold them. So that's stupid. And then, yeah, just weird details. I do like the head. I think that's okay. I could have done better with the hair. And then one of his legs is longer than the other. So there's a lot here. There's a lot I really don't like, and if I'm being honest, I think this is a shitty drawing. I think it's a bad way to start, and if there was only one character I could ever redraw, it would be Camilio. I think he's in desperate need for an upgrade. I did think about maybe coming back and doing more drawings later on. Camilio is definitely on that list because he's rough, okay? That's all I'll say. He's definitely a little bit rough. I'm not super happy with this version of Camilio. But it was a starting point. I kind of knew it was going to start off a little bit rough. Also, the song, I'm going to mention, I posted every character and I gave them a song, like a theme song. Camilio's song was Radar Love by Gold Earring, which is, you know, the song that plays when he fights Rangus. So, there's a bit of a callback. So, yeah, I do actually like the green heart, too. I think that's fun. But I think basically this area, aside from like some sloppiness, is pretty good. Like everything from like the shoulders to the head is like good, and then everything else just kind of falls apart. So yeah, it's pretty rough. Renzo. Renzolian Alexander contrast. Now, this one, in my opinion, is a little bit better because it's my character, so at least I have a little bit more of an understanding of how to draw Renzo. You know, I don't expect, that just comes from the fact that I've been drawing Renzo for years, so I knew how to reinterpret him, especially as him being a Vanguard, which is a tank. He's a big, beefy tank. I imagine him playing a lot like Thor, where he kind of like, he feels very heavy and tanky, and he's kind of slow, but he smacks real hard. That's how I imagine Renzo. There's things I like here. There's things I don't like here. For one, shading is whack. I don't know why it looks like he's dirty. Like the shading look really, especially like here. It just looks. It also looks like he pissed his pants. Yeah, it's not great. I don't really know what I was going for here. And then I like the head. I actually think the head turned out pretty good, especially with the hair. Although I could have made the hair look a little bit more. Maybe it doesn't have to go back so far. Maybe I could have like brought it there. I don't know. I think the fact it goes back a little far is a little ridiculous. The sword is kind of an reinterpretation. It's very different. It's not the usual type of sword. It's more like a big slab of metal, which is cool. I kind of like it. There's way less green in it than usual, but I kind of like it. And then this whole chest area is kind of just a mess. I don't really know what I was trying to go for here. I think, well, the R is supposed to look like it's spray painted on, which is not conveyed very well at all. I think getting rid of this green stuff here would have been the best way to go about it. And then just the little details that I just don't like. It's unnecessary. The boots are kind of cool. I wish the shaping on them were a little bit better. The cape's neat. I do like the dark blue. This neck thing being over here bothers me. It should be like right here instead. I think that's a personal thing. I do like his little power glove here. And then he's got big old sausage fingers. Like, what? Bro's gonna roast them up on the barbecue. Like, what's happening, buddy? He's looking a little rough. So yeah, it's not great. It's still the earlier drawing, so it's quite rough. I do think they get better as they go on. I for the most part, I do think there's a better consistency with the later drawings. Yeah, I think that's definitely something you're going to know. But I don't hate this one. Obviously, I'm a little biased because it's my own character, so I'm a little bit more like, yeah, he looks fine. But I do think that the concept comes across a little bit better here, unlike Camellia, who's not even holding two of his weapons that he should be using. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And Renzo's song would be, obviously, Holding Out for a Hero by Bonnie Tyler, of course. It's got to be that. Next up, we've got the Duelist Kasai. I am mixed about this one, very, very mixed, but I do think you're going to start to see some good direction moving forward. For one thing, I like some of the little details on him. I actually really like his swords. I think his swords turned out nearly perfectly. I love the pose of him holding one backwards, too. That was kind of fun. Just gives it a little bit of a different dynamic pose. And then there's some details I really like. Like, I like the little like metal slabs down here that are red. It's kind of meant to represent these studs that are on the Kasai mock, which is fun. A lot of this is actually based off of the Kasai custom action figure and less of the mock itself. That's why you'll notice like specific little details, like this chest piece is really specific, and even this this cod piece, and like the shoulders are done more like the figure. There are some things I'm not so there's some weird perspective going on here, especially like with this arm and like this leg. This leg is way too skinny. And I was trying to go for like this leg's in front and this leg's on the side, but this would be thicker. Also, he's got big old boots. God damn, his boots are huge, which is just weird. There's not a lot of perspective going on with the chest. It's like more centered, which is weird. And the chest itself, I feel like this chest piece is way too small. Just way too small. Like his chest is huge compared to his chest plate. It just looks weird. And I don't like how unexposed this arm is. You know, there's a few things that really do irk me about the design. Also, I feel like his backpack's too big. You know, there's just little things here and there that do just feel a bit. But I kind of like these. I think that's cool. And it kind of ties in here. And then I don't hate the idea of these kind of going through him. But again, in this form in particular, I think I did it better later on. And then the mask is a little bit weird. Let's zoom in a little bit here. The mask is odd. You know, drawing a How has always been a challenge for me. Also, I When I did this thing where I wasn't really going to draw too many masks with actual masks, I was mostly going to draw faces because I like the idea of having the character's face out. I think it humanizes them a little bit more, but I understand that Kasai canonically is wearing a mask, and a lot of other characters are canonically wearing masks. For whatever reason, I gave him a face, and it looks a little bit weird. I don't think it looks too bad here, but I think the shaping of the mask is what's hurting it. I think there's a lot of weird shaping going on here. I think it maybe should have been a little bit more narrow. I don't know. Either way, it looks very strange, but I don't hate it. He does have a very small face. That's basically the only thing I could say. Other than that, though, I think Kasai looks alright. Also, these are orange. These actually pissed Kasai off. He did not like the fact that they're orange. But my reasoning is that, like, if he ever gets a KO, fire would, like, shoot out the back. It would be, like, a cool, like, animation thing. Because he gets his swords from these, and I always imagine, like, fire just spewing out the back. It's not very well portrayed here. I probably should have actually drawn fire instead of just this, but yeah, that's the idea. And Kasai's song was actually Fight the Good Fight, or I think it's just Good Fight by, oh shit, is it, hold on, let me check really quick. The song is Good Fight by I Alone. It's one of those montage rock songs, but it was played in the COD finale. It's always been a song that resonated really well with me, and I always really thought it was kind of underrated, so that's what I imagined Kasai's song would end up being. Next up, we got Mirashiki, who is a duelist, and I quite like this one. I'm going to be honest, I actually think this one is pretty fun. I like this one more than Kasai's. Miri's cool. This was a really fun little experiment. Kasai's kind of basic and, like, bare bones. Miri's much more of an interpretation. It's less of a direct, like, you know, it wasn't really based off the custom. It was based on a little bit of art that Kasai had sent to me, which was really cool. But for the most part, it was kind of my own take. Also very Psylocke inspired, as I'm sure you can tell from Rivals. A lot of the same like shaping, and a lot of the same like even like the hair is very Psylocke-ish. That was kind of the vibe. Also, she's like a sneaky Twilight ninja, so it kind of makes sense. What I really like about this drawing in particular is the color blocking, which is a very stupid, nerdy term. But what it means essentially is, am I explaining the concept of color blocking to you? I sound like such an asshole. You know what color blocking is. Basically, it's just like where the colors go and how it's used. And the reason why I like it is because if you look at the actual Mirashiki mock, you will see that the colors actually line up very well, which wasn't intentional. That wasn't like me being smart. That was genuinely me going like, oh, she's got purple forearms, she's got black these, she's got purple thighs, and she's got silver. You know, that was just very much intentional. She's also got similar boot situation to Kasai, but she is wearing heels. It's very hard to tell, but she's not standing on her tippy toes. She is wearing heels. Thighs might be a little too big, but it's rival style. I think I did that on purpose. And then she's wearing like a short like mini jacket with like coattails. I actually kind of like that. Gives her puffy sleeves. I like the chest piece a lot more on this one than I do Kasai. The sword is weird. I don't really know what I was trying to go for here. I mean, I was trying to replicate like the gear that like the sword was, but like the gear's flat. Like it should be flatter. I don't really know, but the sword itself looks kind of cool. And then the face and the hair. This is a weird point, I will say. Miri usually has a braid. I could not draw that braid. I tried so many times to draw the braid, and I couldn't get it looking right. So I went, oh, I'm not going to be able to draw this stupid braid, unfortunately. I really wanted to, but I couldn't. So this is sort of the look that I ended up going for. Also, the face. The face is interesting. Obviously, it's that mask face thing again, which could be weird. I think it looks a little bit strange. I don't really like the shaping right here. I think this looks weird. I get what I was trying to do, but it just kind of, it looks like someone kind of punched her in the side of the face, and it's a little lopsided. I should have done better on that. She's also got little earrings, and then the hair, I think I played with the idea of the hair coming onto the mask down here, but it just didn't look right. And you're going to see me run into this problem later where I really struggled with like hair, especially on the female characters, because I wanted a lot of them to have hair, and it just looks kind of weird. Also, her eyelashes are like silver, which is kind of weird. But that's literally was only done to make them stand out through the black holes, which I probably could have just made it the same color as her hair, to be fair. I don't know why I did that. But yeah, overall, I like this Miri. I think she's actually pretty solid. I don't have a lot of complaints. I would probably, if I were to redraw this, I'd go back and touch up on a few things. But for the most part, yeah, I think she's pretty good. Also, her song is a song from Chiverches, if that's how you say it. Bitter End. It was a song that Kasai recommended. Actually, it was funny. Kasai, I asked Kasai, hey, do you have any song recommendations for Miri? And he go ask Miri. Like, go ask Miri's creator. Like, don't ask me. Not my character. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, hey, do you have any suggestions? And she's like, no, go ask Ty. I don't really have anything. So I was like, get ratioed. Anyways, yeah, moving on. Kiriman Okoto. This was a very drastic concept change. So Kiriman has been portrayed in many ways, but usually a big hero guy with a sword. That's usually how he is. This version of Kiriman as a strategist is kind of a different take. I imagine him being almost very like Warlocky. Adam Warlock was kind of my first piece of inspiration, but Adam Warlock's a little bit more active than this guy would be. So the way that I imagine, this is a seasoned version of Kiriman who has learned to master his magic and his elements perfectly. And this is probably not the main Kiriman. This is a different version of him. But every version of Kiriman, but to be fair, we've never seen the main Kiriman. We've only ever seen variants. Because of course we have. There's some fun ideas here. I will say the mask straight up ripped off of Naretta. Like, I looked at how she drew Kiriman's mask, and I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. That's the look I want to go with. Yeah, that was the idea. I kind of like the glowing chest. It's kind of like, it's a cool idea. He's also got the same line things that Kasai and Miri had, which is interesting. And then I gave him this big old red cloak. Now, I don't really like what I did with it. It's very lazily drawn. It just kind of gives up at the end here. I would probably go back and redo this. Also, the idea is that he's not even really a physical form, which is why he's got these blue glowing hands and like the glowing chest. Is the idea is that like he's kind of like Cloak, where like this upper half is like the most physical, and then all down here would be like magic, wispy ghost nonsense. So he's floating essentially. The sword is pretty rough. I don't know why I didn't make it symmetrical. Like it's kind of giving up towards the end here. This is like a magic sword made out of like, I don't know, dragon tooth or some shit like that. Like it's super legendary, and that's why it's got like this rainbow glow to it, which was actually, it turned out pretty cool. So the idea is that during combat, this version of Kiriman would basically be flying, hovering around like this with his hands like floating, like holding the sword, not actually directly touching it, but just levitating it in front of him. And magic would like shoot, like healing magic would shoot from the sword, and then also like damage would shoot from the sword. So the idea is that yes, this would be like a really cool, like he would never pick up the sword and use it, maybe for his ultimate or something, but like for the most part, this is how he would look in game. He'd be floating around like this. And that concept kind of goes hard. I actually really love that concept. It's really cool. That's what sold me on this version of the character. I think on its own, it's just kind of a lazy drawing, but with that concept in mind, it's kind of cool. I had a lot of fun coming up with that idea. And yeah, I think the drawing itself could use a little bit more effort for sure. There could be a little bit more of a reinterpretation of the character, but for the most part, I think it works for what it was trying to go for. It's very simple, though, obviously. So yeah. And Kiriman's song is Crazy on You by Heart. I believe the band is. Yes, Heart. It's Adam Warlock's song from Guardians of the Galaxy 3, so, you know, the inspiration is obvious. I was actually going to go for a different song, but Aiden suggested something else, so yeah. Naretta. We've got our first Naretta here, which is our second strategist of the Hapori. I had the concept for Naretta for a long time. You know, I knew exactly what I wanted to do for Naretta. I knew exactly what I wanted to go for. The execution didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted to, but it didn't turn out bad. Naretta has a very similar character situation with Kiriman, where they're both kind of like elemental Toa, essentially. They were always kind of like the same-ish character. Now, this version of Naretta, I specifically wanted to base her off of, the way I drew her is specifically based off of the way that Naretta does draw her often. So you'd think, wow, Renzo, she looks a little skimpy. That's not me. I looked at how Naretta has drawn her. That's basically all I could say. So while it's definitely a little bit exaggerated in places with my own style, Naretta has drawn her like this, so it wasn't too bad. Also, I like it. The hair was a crazy inclusion. That's never really... I mean, Noretta has been depicted with hair, but never like brown hair like this. That was also definitely my own addition. I like the fact that it's kind of flowing out. It's kind of cool. One of the ideas I had for Noretta immediately was the idea of Squishy, this little guy, was going to be kind of bouncing around, and kind of like the idea is like he'd always be on her shoulder or something during gameplay, and that he'd always do a little celebratory dance or something whenever she'd get like a kill in the game, which was a fun idea. I don't really like the pose. I don't know why the legs are like done like this. I probably should have made this one a little bit facing forward. It just looks a little bit weird. And then the details are interesting. I also don't like the way I did the jacket too. Just looks very odd. I don't know. I wasn't... the shaping was built around the jacket, and you can kind of tell. Although I like the hands and the armor and stuff like that. There's just some weird inconsistent details throughout the build. Throughout the drawing that you can kind of tell. I'm not super happy. I do like the way the head turned out for the most part. Again, I think throwing in the hair was an interesting idea. And Squishy looks okay. I wasn't sold on him 100%, but I do think he looks fine. I don't have too much else to say. I think this is a good version of Noretta. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm not like over the moon with it, but I do think it's quite cool. Her song is Firefly Alley by Lindsey Sterling. It's kind of a cool like fantasy style like rock song. It's pretty dope. Noretta gave me that idea for that song, so I do appreciate it. Moving on, we've got probably the most controversial drawing that I've ever done. We have Rangus himself. Now, if you ask Rangus, he hates this drawing. He despises it because I made him a little fat. And it's true. Rangus is a little chunky. He's not supposed to look chunky. He's supposed to look muscular. Did not come across, and I think I kind of misunderstood what... So he's very Punisher inspired, obviously, because of the muscles and the gun, which Punisher is not a Vanguard, by the way. He's a duelist, which I don't know why Rangus is a Vanguard. Technically, he probably should be a duelist, but I just wanted to make him a Vanguard. I don't know why. Anyways, there's some major issues with this drawing that I do have that I would definitely change. First of all, not holding the gun correctly. We've already established this is something you're going to see a lot. Just not where not where his hand would be. This wire looks kind of weird. I mean, it doesn't look bad. I think all this shaping right here looks pretty good. I like the cracked armor up here. I like the fact it's all kind of damaged looking. I do like that. The actual face itself, aside from some weird kind of crushed details, I actually think it looks pretty good. There is one issue. Dude's got a neck beard. Now, the neck beard is a weird decision, and you gotta understand the only reason why he has a neck beard is because he was supposed to have like a big beard, but I didn't want to like obscure the face for some reason, and I didn't like I'd already drawn the mask, and for some reason it didn't connect to me that I could just draw the beard coming. I didn't want to ruin the shape of the mask, which is stupid because it's supposed to be a beard. It's supposed to be a full beard, so that's my fault. It should look better. The fact that he's got a big ugly neck beard is kind of gross. Like, I want him to have a full beard. Aside from that, I do think the face looks pretty good for the most part. And then again, I like the shaping of everything basically up here. And then, yeah, his thighs are gigantic. I think that's the main problem. Is like, if his thighs were shortened down, I don't think there would really be a problem. I think if his thighs were a lot smaller, then he wouldn't have been perceived as fat. I think that was the problem. And that's also what makes Punisher work in Rivals, is he's got gigantic arms, he's got a huge chest, but he's got spindly little tiny legs, which makes it better. It makes his proportions balance out a lot more. You just got big chungus legs, you know, huge ass legs. So that's the main problem. I actually like his weird goblin feet. I know that's weird, but that is accurate to like how he usually looks. You know, if you ever looked at Rangus before, he does have weird freaky little feet. And aside from that, I actually like this draw. I think he turned out pretty good. There's just a few things that I would kind of tweak, but Rangus makes this out like it's the worst thing ever. I really don't think it's that bad. I mean, there's some weird, like, over shading. Like, I don't know why this is, like, super overdone. And then right here, for some random reason, right specifically here, and then on, like, none of the other ones. It's just very bizarre. And then he's also got a waistcoat like Noretta, but it doesn't really go. It doesn't. I don't know. It's weird. I like this drawing. I'll stand by it, but I'll probably end up doing another version for Rangus someday. Maybe. Maybe not. I do like it. Maybe, if anything, I would probably just, like, adjust the size of the legs, Make him a little bit more beefy up here maybe, and then maybe slim these parts down, and then obviously make him hold his goddamn gun. So yeah. Yeah, and Rangus's song is, of course, Home by Resonance, which was the Season 3 opening, I believe. Next up, we got Makuta Kralos. This is Vanu's character. Now, Vanu does have a mock named Vanu von Travia, but Kralos has actually appeared in the Hapori-verse before. He's a little bit more iconic. Even if he never has actually done much, he's still pretty cool. There's things I really like about this one, but there's also something I don't. I don't really like his face. I think I know what I was trying to go for, but I kind of opted out of giving him like a cool bug face and instead gave him this weird like alien face, but gave him a mouth still. And I kind of like the eyes, but then the shaping is also, I couldn't have it both ways. I had to have it both ways. I had to give him his long boomerang shaped head, but I also had to give him the antenna. And I don't think doing both was a good idea. That's just a personal thing. I also really like the interpretation of the sort of green Takidox pieces being like these weird shells. It's very interesting. And he's got like these cracks all throughout his body. So he looks really like, the idea is this would be a very much like a bioluminescent like thing. You know, he's very bioluminescent. I also like his weird, gross, creepy gimp claws, or feet. I think that's kind of fun. The fact that he's hairy too is kind of an interesting idea. Not usually something that I'm sure Kralos is remembered or associated with. The pose is a little weird. I don't really know what the pose was supposed to be, but it looks fine, I guess. And then yeah, there's like no bioluminescence in the head, which is like, why? Like every other part has it, you know? It feels kind of lazy. I don't. The head could literally go with a different character. That's how it's so jarring. It just goes from like this to that, you know? I could have done more with him. I could have given him a weapon or something, but I kind of like the idea. When I imagined him, I kind of imagined someone similar to Venom when I first imagined drawing the character. I think he'd play a little bit differently, maybe more like Groot, actually, now that I think about it. He'd probably play a little bit more like Groot with like shadows and stuff like that. Instead of like throwing like vines, he shoots like shadow whips or some, you know, whatever Kralos can do. I was never too familiar with Kralos, but I knew enough that he was a Makuta and that he's epic and badass and, you know, all that good stuff. He's a Vanguard, obviously. And his song was Wherever I May Roam from Metallica. So yeah. Otto von Doom. Otto von Doom, this is a very wild interpretation of Otto. It's a very different interpretation, but I kind of like some things about it. I also will admit there's a lot less detail in this one than I kind of wish there was. I drew Otto a while back on my Instagram, just randomly drew a version of Otto, and I liked it. This is much more of a complicated take. One thing was, I initially pictured Otto, at least this version of Otto, was going to be Egyptian themed. Nothing about this drawing screams Egyptian at all. Maybe this part here, that's about it. That's it. So the Egyptian vibe definitely did not come across. If anything, there's like a Roman gladiator vibe with like the waist cloth and like the red like cape coming down into multiple parts. That's also another very different take. It's a very different version of Otto. This was definitely me just kind of shooting the shit and going for something wild. Even like his crazy like triple golden spikes that shoot out. This is a wild design. It really is. The more I look at it, the more I'm like, God damn, this is a crazy look for him. I do like it. I do think it is wild and kind of bizarre. I also, drawing this guy, I completely forgot that Otto had gravity powers. I like completely missed that for whatever reason. So I was giving him like dark, like crazy, like green magic, but he's supposed to have gravity abilities, and I just didn't lock into that. So yeah, I kind of readjusted him in some ways, but I do like it. The head shape is actually kind of cool. It looks like he's got a big puppy dog nose, but it's supposed to be like a skull hole. It definitely does look like a big dog nose now that I think about it, though. It probably could have gone crazy with the antlers. They could have been bigger and more epic, but yeah. I actually really like his sword, too. I like how that scroll shaping turned out. It's not perfect. It looks like it's like a neon sign or something, which is kind of fun. And then his shoes definitely could have been better. I don't know what. I kind of gave up on this foot, and this other one's a little bit interesting. So yeah, I like this drawing. There could be a lot more detail, though. I will look at this, and I'll be like, ugh. you know. But for the most part, I am quite happy with the way he looks. He is a duelist. He probably should be a Vanguard because of how big I'd imagine he would be. But he's just a duelist. So yeah. And his song was, of course, My Way by Frank Sinatra. If you know anything about Otto, you know why that's significant. So, yeah. It's my argument for a lot of these drawings is like, hey, maybe it's not exactly the way you imagine the character, but hey, it's fun, and I had fun doing it, and that's really all that matters, right? The duelist, Comrade, here. I had a lot of fun drawing Comrade, if I'm gonna be honest. He's a very underappreciated character. Obviously, he was never really in anything, so it's fair why he's underappreciated. But I always thought his design was fun. And I really wanted to lean into like this edgy, like epic wolf OC. And I had a lot of fun doing it. I love the way his face turned out. I love the expression. I love the eye. I love the... He's all cut up. I like the fact his skin is also dark red too. It's kind of just a fun like idea. Yeah, that expression. He's not a nice wolf. He's a very angry... I also really wanted to give him like this hunchback thing, where you could tell like, he's not like a big handsome buff wolf guy. He's kind of like an ugly, like you know, Comrade's a bit of a rough around the edges kind of guy. He's not like your traditional epic buff furry dude. Like he's kind of a mutant freak, which is the whole point. He's an alien, and he's also like a bioweapon. So that's kind of the whole point. That being said, I wish I made his arms longer. His arms are a little too short for my liking. I kind of would have liked to give him bigger, longer, more aggressive-looking arms to represent his play style. Comrade probably plays very similarly to like someone like Black Panther. That's just how I imagine him playing. He does probably have a gun, but it's not pictured here. And then his tail's a little big, I feel like. I also wanted to show it off more, so I put it back here, and I feel like it should be more down here. Yeah, and then, I don't know. I actually don't have... I will admit, the hand is a little excessive here. I was trying to show, like, paw prints, and it's just covered in, like, black holes. It looks kind of gross. And then the red skin is a little bit jarring, especially, like, down here. And on the hands, it looks a little bit weird. But that is just, like, his skin. So he doesn't have any hair on his hands or on his feet. Yeah, I like this. I don't really have too much of a problem. I think he looks quite cool. I think he turned out very, very well. I probably, if anything, would have just probably... If anything, I would have exaggerated the hunchness of the character, which is not on the original mock, but I would have gone all the way in on that. And then I probably would... Also, there's a lot of red on this, which is a little weird. And then I definitely would have gone with longer, bigger arms. Maybe, like, hanging down to, like, here. Because I feel like that would have given him much more of an animalistic vibe. His song I chose was Abyss. It's the I think it's the opening from Kaiju number 8. I've never seen Kaiju number 8, but I thought the song kind of fit the edgy nature of Comrade, so I thought it worked really well. So yeah, I want him to be in something, man. He's great. All right, moving away from traditional Hapori members, now we are going over to Ghosty from Season of the Witch. Well, you know, this could be any version of Ghosty, but this is her specifically from Season of the Witch. I was really excited to draw this one, if I'm being honest. I had so many ideas for this one. I was really excited. She's a tank, too, which is crazy, because Ghosty's small. She's like 5'3" or something like that. She's tiny. So I love the idea that this tiny little girl is walking out into the battlefield with this massive axe. It's so fun. Like, she would play really slow and heavy. She'd probably be closer to someone like Magic, if I'm being honest, which would make her a duelist. But anyways, yeah. Ghosty here is an interesting looking drawing. I have a little nitpick. First of all, fun fact, when I first drew her, the axe, I didn't account for the pose properly, and I didn't draw the whole thing. So I think her axe was like floating up here, and it looked no, it was floating out here, but like it wasn't resting on her shoulder. So my only option was bring the shoulder higher, which wasn't really an option, or I had to take this. You can actually see it right here. It gets a little rough right here, and the reason why is because I had to take it, resize it, then redraw this entire part again. So that's the reason why it's so rough. Also, drawing the axe, I think it turned out okay. There's a lot of random little bips and bops, but that's kind of how it looks. And also, it's supposed to be a guitar and an axe, and I think for what it's worth, it does look pretty good. It's got all the lights and everything. So I think maybe up here it probably could have fixed how this looked, but I was just kind of going off of the shapes based on the actual design of the thing itself. I I like the look. Dude, I'm actually really happy. First of all, bold decision. I made an epic bold decision here because Ghosty's skin is normally like a light green, and then her face is orange because she's like a pumpkin girl. I just made her all skin orange. It just looked better like that. I really liked it. I like her face. I love the eyeshadow. Oh man, I think the hair and everything turned out real great on her. I'm very happy. Maybe could have done a little bit more back here. It gets a little sparse back here, but I love the shaping of that. She's got like a red choker. She's got I love how her hair comes out. That's so fun. I'm just like I'm very happy with this drawing. I think it turned out good. I'm particularly happy with the spiderweb pattern. That was like completely just like I just went for it, and it turned out way better than I ever could have expected it looking. Like I think the shaping looks really good. I think it looks like a spider web, and it's got like that almost like metallic, like, but also kind of sewn texture that it does in the actual special. I'm super happy with that. She's got like her arm sock things. They're a little hangy, which is weird. Oh, she's got like a spider belt. I'm gonna admit, this is probably my least favorite part down here because I think I made her legs way too small. And she's supposed to be a short stack, but I think her legs just need to be a little bit longer. I think really what it was is I needed to make the legs a bit longer and then bring the boots down. I think that would have actually fixed the proportions a little bit. Because as is, her legs look way too stumpy. I genuinely think that's the only problem. Because her legs kind of start like right here. That's where her legs start. So technically, yes, this should be longer because her ankle would be like right here. Technically, it's weird. So yeah, that's a weird nitpick. Maybe you guys don't see it, but I see it and it's bothering me. Little spider belt. I think I already mentioned that. And yeah, she does have green going through, like green veins, and they're not veins. The idea is that that's like the plant aspect going through her. So I'm quite happy with this one. I'm gushing a lot about this one because I feel like it actually turned out pretty well, and it's one of the few that I'm like really happy with. I wouldn't really change much about this if I had to go back. Maybe fix like the arm sleeve things a little bit, and then obviously fix the legs. But other than that, and then also maybe the belt. I'm not 100. I like the spider, but it's also a little bit weird. I don't know. I'm pretty happy with this. Her song is obviously Season of the Witch by Lana Del Rey. I mean, it's from Donovan, but the Lana Del Rey cover of Season of the Witch. So, yeah, I'm quite happy with her. Geode here is another little guy. I've drawn Geode a lot, so drawing him wasn't really a problem. A little bit of a different take on Geode, not really. But there's more like... I had to get more specific with his details. I've always kind of drawn Geode like a cartoon character with very simple shapes, so getting a little bit more into it was difficult. He's a strategist, just because he is. Imagine him playing very similarly to someone like Rocket. He's got like a hover pack, and he's got this big old claw, but he's also got this big old grape Fanta gun. I don't know what this is supposed to... This is the Harmonix gun he gets, but again, it looks like grape Fanta or some shit like that. I like it. There's also like little green flames from his jetpack shooting out. They're a little messy. The shaping of his claws his feet are like kind of super weird. They're very stylized, you know? They look like angry little skulls or something. I don't know what I was trying to go for there. And then he's got like a red and blue wire. I think the head shape turned out pretty good. Yeah, I'm very happy with the shaping of this Geode. It's, I also gave him like different shades of orange in parts to kind of highlight aspects of the design. I think it works for the most part. I think it's a little weird right here. I don't really know why there's two like right here. It's a little bizarre. But for the most part, I'm actually very happy with this. Again, it's Geode. I kind of knew what to do with him for the most part. I also really like how the skeleton like metal arm stuff. I like how that came across. I tried doing that with another character, and I don't think it really translated as well. So yeah, we had a hard time figuring out what Geode's song was going to be. We ended up settling on "Go All the Way" from the Raspberries, which is a song that plays, I think, in Renzo episode 3 or maybe 2 or 1 of the earliest Renzo episodes that ended up playing in. Not really a song that represents Geode too well, but it was early Renzo, so what can you do? Durovix. Also, if you noticed a pattern here, we did like the first Hapori members, and then we're kind of doing supporting cast based off of the order of appearance. So like we did Camilio first, then it was Ghosty, then we did obviously Renzo, then Geode, and now we're doing, then it was Kasai, now we're doing Drovix. So that's kind of how it's going. The order gets a little bit more random as it goes on, and not every Hapori verse character has a representation or an other representation, but yeah, whatever. Duelist Drovix here. I took a lot of inspiration from Kasai's custom action figure for Drovix, less so on the actual mock. The mask was a bit of a mix of both. So Kasai had this really cool mask idea, but I kind of like the idea. It's a little bit mixed with the Mask of Light. It's kind of hard to tell, but the shaping, that's why the shaping's a little bit more extreme, because it's supposed to be a play on not just the mask that Kasai ended up using for the custom, but also the Mask of Light in a way. Probably doesn't translate too well. The sword is actually kind of cool. I love the idea of him holding like a physical hilt, and the blade is just like black shadow with like this orange highlight, which is crazy. He's very simple. The drawing is super simple. It's not crazy. Obviously, there's a lot of details I left very, like the feet. You can't even tell what the hell's going on with the feet. I don't even know what the hell's happening down here. There's a lot of details I left very plain. That's just because he's supposed to be a man of pure shadow. That's what Kasai was telling me. It's very simple. There's not a lot to say about this one. I like it. I think it's cool, but there's just not a lot to say. Also, the cape. I didn't want to make it just black because I knew it was going to blend with the body, so that's why I made it gray. It's also kind of flowy, which I think is fun. Yeah, it's like super flowy. Yeah, I might be missing out on some details here, but I've also been talking for a very long time at this point, so yeah, I don't have much else to say. I think he's fun. Also, his song was For Whom the Bell Tolls from Metallica again. Might be seeing them again later. Probably not. I actually don't remember. Strategist Malcolm. Malcolm is a very unknown character to a lot of casual people because he was never really fully introduced. He's only been introduced in like I don't think he's ever actually appeared on screen. He's a very niche character. He was going to be a very major villain in something Aiden was making, but that never came to fruition, and I know he wants to use him. Essentially, he's an alien. He's a cyborg alien who uses music as his power. I love the idea of this strategist guy just playing his guitar. It was really fun. I don't love the drawing. I like the head, but I don't really like the hat. I don't really know. It just doesn't, the shaping didn't really convey well. And then like it's simple, but in like the worst way. Like none of the shapes really feel satisfying. Nothing came together in like a fun way. And I think it's just because Malcolm's design is so specific. I do like his head. I think his head is exactly the way I wanted it to look. That's, again, maybe Aiden doesn't imagine Malcolm looking like this, but in my mind, this is how Malcolm, or at least his head, is the way I imagine him. I don't know. This was just a very bizarre character to kind of translate, and I think I'm not going to blame Aiden for that. That's definitely on me for not, but also he hasn't really been in anything, so his, it was hard to take inspiration from something that doesn't really fully exist, but yeah, he'd play music. He'd heal people. That's sort of the idea. He's cool. He's a great character. I hope you guys get to meet him one day because he's really sick. But yeah, just a very simple, kind of generic, boring looking drawing. His song is Safety Dance by Men Without Hats, which is a banger song, but also that was always the song that we associated Malcolm with when he was going to show up. Ona is a duelist and a representation, another very obscure character. Now, unlike Malcolm, she has appeared in a video. Actually, I think Malcolm has appeared, but Ona literally has had a role in a video. If you don't know who she is, she did fight Camilio in the bottom, I think it was 3.5. She actually has a little fight with her. Now, this is a very different take on Ona. Ona is usually portrayed as a much more, like, aggressive, like, monster. Like, she's usually a much more of a physical, like, epic brawler. This is a bit of a different, more relaxed take. I really liked her outfit. I like this kind of like almost plant-like outfit she's wearing. Now, I was worried that this was going to stray too far about like what makes Ona Ona. I was very worried that this was going to feel like it wasn't Ona, because of how like different and more almost like more refined this version was. However, going through Neretta's drawings on her DeviantArt, I found a drawing where Ona was a little bit more sophisticated looking. She was a little bit more drawn, not like this per se, but a little bit more reserved. Not as like much of a brute as she used to be. And that made me feel good. That made me feel like, okay, this is a good take. This is like a fine take that isn't like a complete recharacterization. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't feel like a bastardization of her character. Anyways, Ona's a duelist. Her hair is interesting. I don't know if I love it. I like the shaping of it, but I just don't know if it really. She's got a big old forehead too. Yeah, it was kind of hard translating that mask and then also giving her hair. The metal arm was fun. I kind of like that. Yeah, she's got like this plant like get up. I should clear up the fact too is that her armor and stuff should be black. I went for more of a dark gray because I figured it would stand out a little bit better, especially for like the black boots and all that. I probably should have gone with a bit of a darker color, but at the time, this is the look that made the most sense to me. It's a very different take on someone like Ona, but it's not as inaccurate as I assumed it would be. You know, I think this is a fine version. I think Noretta actually liked this take on her too. It's just, it is definitely a bit of a unique take, is all I'll say. I don't like her chin, her really tiny chin, and then her massive forehead. It's very weird. Her song, by the way, is "Beautiful Nightmare" by Alan Walker. It's an interesting song. It's actually kind of sick. I kind of like listening to it. Alright, we got our boy Ikimu from Life of Night. One of the only other Life of the Night reps here. I don't really like this drawing. I don't really know what happened. I had a very specific idea in my mind for Ikimu, and I don't think it really I think I spent way too much time trying to literally take things from the mock, and I think the shaping kind of got lost because of it. Yeah, I don't like his sword. I think his sword looks bad. I think his proportions I kind of like. I kind of like the long but like giant beefy limbs. I'm okay with the proportions. The legs are like way too silver like the mock, and it kind of stands out and looks not very good. I don't like the shaping. I just don't like the shaping of a lot of the mock. Even the Mask of Creation, like, it looks slightly off. Like, it is a very direct take of the Mask of Creation, but I almost think it shouldn't have been. Maybe I should have done something different with it. You know, maybe I think I should have gone for a different look. And then yeah, I don't like the shaping of the shoulders. I don't like the shaping. I'm kind of down on this. Also, like, I just didn't put a lot of effort in places. Like, the cape is like not very well done. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what happened with this one. I think I kind of dropped the ball with this version. Maybe I was rushed or something, or maybe I felt rushed because I'm looking at it right now and I'm just, the less I like it. He's a Vanguard. He's a big beefy Vanguard, but he should be cooler. But he's a thing. He's just a guy. He's just a very generic looking dude. I guess this would be a cool fan art of him. This is an epic fan art of Ikimu, but I don't know. I'm kind of, I didn't used to not like this one, and then now that I'm looking at him, I'm kind of like, yeah, nah, he didn't really turn out the way I wanted him to, which is unfortunate. It really sucks. His song is Deep by Peter Sandberg, which is a very emotional song that plays in Stranger Things that he used in Life of Night. So that's kind of the song that I associate Ikimu with. This is kind of the opposite of where I felt like Ikimu was a bit lackluster. I'm quite happy with Psych Auto here. Psych Auto is probably another really obscure character to most people. He is a kind of villainous force that shows up in the Auto's Mad Gallivanting miniseries. He kind of acts as Otto's other half and more like psychotic, like demon that follows him around. That was definitely something I wanted to play with. This is a grossified, disgusting version of Otto that has just been like put through the ringer, and I kind of love it. Drawing Otto's face but more deformed and like fugly was so much fun. His face is a little hard to tell what's going on. I don't really know. It didn't really render the best, unfortunately. It got really blurry. Jaw, like, he's got like a big jaw and is like, he's got a big alien head. Like, he's rough, man. The antlers are all chaotic and everywhere. He's got these big old spikes that hang out of his back. All of the armor on him is like craggled and like it literally looks like his armor was put through a blender. And, like, it came out, and it's all rough, and, like, it's not supposed to be hair. It's just, like, his body's just so misformed, and, like the idea is it's so, like, just disturbed, you know. I love that chest piece. It's very different from what the actual chest piece looks like, but it's kind of cool. I like the purple, like, glowing. It's also in his head too, which is fun. This hand is just straight up a amalgamation of like sharp blades. Like it's like you can see his thumb, so it was a regular hand, but like it's almost like he took his other fingers and just put a bunch of blades on it. He just went like, yeah, who needs those other fingers? I'm just gonna make my hand a big old like goddamn blade, which is funny. The toes are really gross and like misformed. One of my favorite details about it though is the belt. Now, this was kind of a last-minute addition, so I could have done it better, but the idea is, on the mock, on the original Psych Auto, he has these green skull spiders on his thighs. And they're kind of just there to, like, cover up and add as, like thigh armor. But what I really like about it in this context is that they are meant to be the skulls of Otto's species. I don't really know how that works, but it's kind of just a fun detail. Also, he doesn't have one on the for the cod piece. I explicitly added that because I thought it would be a really fun detail. So yeah, I'm very happy with this version of Psych Auto. I think this goes way harder than it needed to, especially for a character like Psych Auto, but I always thought he was kind of a fun, chaotic dude. And getting to just draw him in the cool... Also, personal note, I really don't want to glaze my own drawing too much, especially when they are not the best, but I do really like the shading on the purple. It's just a little technique that I really emphasized here, and I think it looks. I think it makes it look really good. It went from a very flat, what could have been a very flat purple, to like something with a lot of depth, because it looks like there's actually like texture there, which I think is really fun. So yeah, I love this version of this drawing. I'm being honest. I think he's great. I don't really have anything I would go back and change. Also, his song is "Zombie" by the Cranberries. Kind of a random pick, but they literally go, "What's in your head, in your head?" So it's it made sense to me at the time. Faramid. I don't know if that's her name. I think that's her name. I was really excited to draw Farah, if I'm being honest, because I knew what I wanted to go for in my mind. I don't think it really came across, unfortunately. I don't think I was able to nail what I wanted out of her. Now, I don't think this is a horrible drawing, but I also don't feel like this is my best work, which really sucks. I was very excited to draw Farah. And like I said, it just didn't really translate the best way. The proportions are just weird. I don't know. She's got a really big head, and like her body size is kind of weird. Like, it's almost like she doesn't really have much of a stomach. It's like right here. Her waist should be a lot skinnier than it is. I think there needed to be a little bit more here. I think that's the issue. And then the armor feels kind of like an afterthought. Like, she's got this thigh armor that just doesn't look very good. The wraps all look kind of inconsistent and weird. I am not... And then I think her eyes are like way too big. Her head is too big. Her hair's... Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. This one just it's kind of, I find it kind of disappointing. Not because I think it's bad, but just because I know I can do better. And I think that's the frustrating thing. Is like I was so excited to draw Farah because I had so many ideas for her, and then for whatever reason it just didn't come across. It just didn't translate well. This would definitely be another character that is on my need to redraw list. I think this is a character that needs to be taken another look at, and I think this is a character that needs another attempt made at her, because I genuinely feel like this is a pretty poor take on Farah. I kind of like her magic effect going on there, and I think the pose is kind of fun. Yeah, no, I'm not particularly happy with Farah, unfortunately. I wanted to be, and I was really excited to do it, but yeah, I don't think it worked out the best. Her song was going to be Walk Like an Egyptian by the Bangles, but that suggested instead Toxic by Britney Spears, which, you know, makes sense. It lines up with her character. It's also Thatch's character. So, for the most part, I asked a lot of the people, like, what song they would choose for their character. For the most part. I usually, not all the time, but sometimes I was like, yeah. Here's another one that I'm a little iffy on. I'm happier with this one than I am with Farah, honestly, but not by much. This is Yuri. Yuri's another kind of I don't think she's unknown at all, but I think she hasn't been in anything for a while. It's Miri's sister. They're not related. I actually found that out while working on this one. Little bit more of like a demon take for this one. And I kind of wish I leaned into that a little bit more. I totally should have given her horns. Now I'm looking at it. Horns would have fit the character so well. I don't like the wings. I think the wings turned out quite bad, especially this. This looks fine. I don't know what the hell happened here. I don't know why I thought this was okay. I was like, yeah, it's fine. I don't like how these are done. I don't like how they're out. I know I'm trying to show that she's flying, but it just, I don't know. I like the color scheme a lot. I love the trans yellow. The glowy yellow is really cool. The hair is weird. I don't know if I'm sold on the hair. The hair is kind of a very straight... I wanted to do something very different from Miri. But she's got like purple highlights in them. So Rivals will do that sometimes where they put other colors in characters' hair. So like Sue will have like green and purple just like randomly in her blonde hair. Just for like highlights. I think I tried to do that here, but it does look a little bit weird. I don't like the hair. I probably would have gone back, give her different hair. I probably definitely would have given her horns or something. I just think it would have brought the look together. Her weapons are kind of crazy too. It's a little hard to tell what's happening. These weapons kind of blend in together, but this is supposed to be on her arm. It's like a shield thing with like a blade on the end, and then she's got like this massive hook blade that comes around, which is cool. Feet are kind of cool, and I kind of like the weird like bubble texture. I think it's fun. I actually I'm pretty happy with this one. I think this one has aged well. I like this one. There's a lot more I wish I had done with her, but I can't be too mad because I think for the most part it continues to look pretty good for the most part. Her song, by the way, is Consume by The Warning. Not a song I ever would have known, but of course Kasai put me onto it, so thank you, Kasai. Next up, we got Steve. Little chameleon Steve, who's a duelist. This guy was a lot of fun to draw. I will admit I had a hard time drawing him. The original version was very different. I had him... First of all, he was missing the Paladin belt, which is one of the main... I mean, this is Paladin Steve, right? So the whole point of him having the belt in this form is him being a paladin. And then I drew him with wings, and he was also frowning, and I didn't really like it. I didn't really like it. I had to go back and make some changes, so I drew this version instead, who's a little bit more, he's a little happier. He's still ready to go and kick some ass, but he's a little happier. I give him some blue on his toes, which is fun. He's got Sandman weapons, so he's got one hammer, and then he's got one spike ball. I don't really like the way the spike ball turned out. It's a little gross. Well, the hammer's gross, too, because it's got, like, veins coming out. It's kind of disgusting looking, but I do like how that one looks a little bit more. I'm much happier with the way the hammer turned out. I like this. It's very simple. You know, it's not anything crazy to write home about, but I do think that it is a good-looking little Steve, you know? Nothing I would really complain, nothing I'd really change about. I like that the armor's kind of, not really armor, like, I like the chest piece is literally just, like, thrown over his chest, like, he's not, like, wearing it, technically, it's literally just, like, a harness or something. It's kind of funny. The Paladin armor is a little bit different from how I did Camilleo's, which is probably something to take note of. Also, his song is obviously Karma Chameleon by the Culture Club, because of course it is. Why wouldn't it be, right? Since Kieran, this probably is like the most radical interpretation of a character. This is Extraction. This is Rangus's character. This is the Life of a Night villain. It's a very bizarre take on this character. So, the way that I imagine this character is that he's essentially this like cosmic guy who used to be a normal dude, but has since been corrupted by like cosmic magic or whatever, has been going around causing mischief, just doing shit. You know, I also kind of drew him with like a bit of a dragonborn head. I just realized that. He's got a very much a dragonborn, dragon-inspired head because he normally has the protector mask. I kind of wanted to steer clear from that and not do that again. So I gave him a dragonish head. The wings kind of feel like an afterthought here. They're just kind of there. Also, I feel like there's like purple rocks and the shaping and everything isn't perfect. I probably should have readjusted how they look. My favorite detail about this drawing, honestly, is I wish he was a little bit more misformed, but I do actually really like the holes with like the gross texture. You don't see it very often. I wanted it to be a little bit more throughout the body. I really like the little hints of it that is there. I actually really, really love it, especially in the leg there. I think that is really, really fun right here. Again, you can see I tried to do it in other places, like the body, and it's hard to tell, especially with the background. Maybe if there wasn't this big, stupid purple wing in the background. You also might be able to tell that there's a little bit of an inconsistent problem throughout most of these guys, where like I can't decide what the background thing should be. So like sometimes like it's just Steve's head, or sometimes it's like the big wing, you know, because usually you want to get the profile, but it's very hard when the character has wings. You don't want it to go too much over here, so you kind of struggle. At least I struggled with it personally. Very bizarre take on Extraction, but I had a lot of fun doing it. I don't think he really stands out too well. Like, I don't think he really has his own, like, silhouette and personality, but I do like it. I'm actually still quite happy with it. The song I chose for him was Supermassive Black Hole by Muse, which you could say is kind of a bizarre song choice, but I mean, he's a big, like, cosmic black hole dude, so, yeah. Duelist Spawn. Now, Spawn's one of my own characters, so again, I've got a little bit of a biasness, and I've got a little bit of a specific way I would draw him. Now, that being said, I think I kind of fubbed up some stuff here. More specifically, I think I misunderstood the style. Rivals is a very stylized game, and it's kind of known for its like hyper detail. This is not a hyper detailed Rivals character. This is a cartoon character. This just misunderstood the assignment. This is not. This is a good drawing of Spawn. I'm happy with it, but it is definitely not a Rivals styled Spawn. It is just a drawing of Spawn. So I just because I think I got so caught up in it too. I think I was like, I'm drawing Spawn. I'm so happy, but like, what? There's like no texture on his body. There's like, this is like bare minimum texture. Like the feet are super simple. The face is, I mean, it's detailed, but it's kind of just Spawn, you know. The wings are kind of fun, but yeah, no, this is not, the belt's also new, by the way, with the little logo. I think that's kind of cute. Also, golden spoon. He's never had a golden spoon, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, this is just, this is like, you know, I had fun doing it, but I missed the assignment. I failed. I ultimately failed because this is not what this should have been. You know, I think that was the biggest problem. It wasn't it wasn't what it needed to be. So yeah, I think this is a fundamental failure in what the assignment was. Again, I like it as a drawing. I like Spawn, but this ain't it, Chief. This ain't it. His song was obviously Push It to Limit from Scarface. Obviously, it had to be. It's the one song that plays during Renzo. It's just like epic theme. So yeah. Addy here is very interesting because this is my second attempt at drawing Adeline. I will put the first one up, and I had a bit of a rough time. I'm not going to lie. If that first drawing, I don't like the proportions. I felt rushed for some reason. Did not like it. I actually hated it so much that I like sat with it over the next few days, and I was really like, God, I really don't like this. So I was like, how the hell do I make it better? So what I did instead is of the next day, like the next day that I had to draw, I think I put out the original Addy on Friday, and then I decided I was going to do another Addy on Monday. So then the character was going to get pushed back, which is fine. But also, yeah, it really sucked because I was so disappointed with that first Adeline. There were things I liked about it, but it just wasn't right. It just didn't translate the way I wanted it to, unfortunately. I thought it would be easy, but it wasn't. This is much closer, in my opinion, to what I wanted. Genuinely, there's some really iffy stuff here. Like, the thighs are weird. I don't like how thick they are, and then they become how skinny. Like, look, this looks weird. I don't like that. Because I was trying to get the shaping right. I love the hands. I love everything up here. I love the face. The face I'm so much happier with. Before, she looked kind of creepy. I'm not going to lie. She looked a bit like a freak. Now I think she looks a lot closer to what I wanted her to look like. I like the eyes. I like the shaping of the face. The hair is much better. I love her look at her little charms, a little heart and little charm of Ghosty and Stitch. I think that's quite cute. And then I don't really like, the legs are honestly not my least favorite part of the whole drawing. I like the staff, although I actually think I like the staff a little bit more on the first one. I don't know. I just like the coloring and everything a little bit more. But yeah, for the most part, I think the cape is like a billion times better. Oh my god, like it was supposed to be a cloak. This is not a cloak. This is much more of a cape. But again, it turned out way better. I'm much happier with this version of Adeline. Also, this is kind of a future Adeline. We haven't really seen this look for Adeline yet, but this is kind of what she's building up to. So again, she's a strategist. I think she turned out quite well. Her song is Magic by Pilot. Just a really solid song, really fun character. I'm pretty happy with it. Alright, next up we got Takeru Nuva, who you probably should know. He's obviously Takeru, who's been upgraded. Not upgraded, but he ascended, I guess, into Takanuva. Well, he's not literally Takanuva. I don't know. Whatever. Ask Kasai. I'm pretty happy. I was already on a good high with Addy's redraw, so I was much happier with this, and I think this is a pretty good version of Takeru Nuva. There are some oddities. I think this area is questionable. This was me trying to like interpret the logo, but it just kind of, it looks really robotic and just like, he looks like he's got a big M on his chest. I don't really know. I don't understand that. That personally to me is very weird. I also don't like the shaping of his shoulder pieces. Actually, the crystal pieces, the shaping's kind of weird. Like, I just don't think that translated very well. Also, he's really buff, dude. Look at these friggin' biceps. Good God. Dude is absolutely shredded. Yeah, it's interesting. And I actually really like the mask. I think the mask turned out pretty good. Obviously, it's the more G2 styled Evoki. I can't believe I remember the name of this stupid mask. I actually like the shape. I think it turned out pretty good. I think the middle part gets a little bit confused here, but again, that's because I wanted to give him the stupid mouth. The weapon probably could have been a little bit translated better, but I think it gets the job done. He's a strategist. I actually imagine if there's any character that plays like Adam Warlock, it's probably Takeru Nuva. He was going to be a duelist at first, but then it just made sense with his like light powers and stuff to make him a strategist. It just kind of worked out that way. I like this one. I don't really have too much else to say. I'm pretty happy with this take on Takeru Nuva, at least personally. I think Kasai liked it too, and that's really all that matters. The song that we ended up using was Legendary by George Rivera Heron, so I believe that's from Epic, I believe. I actually really like his boots too. I just realized that. Sometimes you'll notice I struggle with the feet a lot. You will see often the feet are kind of my biggest problems a lot of the time. I think these feet turned out pretty good. Duelist Sketch. We've got our first GCU rep on the list here. Interesting take, I think, here. There's some things I like, there's some things I don't. That's usually what I end up saying for a lot of this. Look at him. He's holding a gun. He's holding it properly. Oh my God. He's got the I mean, it's not perfect, but he does have his finger in the hole or the. it's great. Oh man, that's very interesting. Generally, trying to get the GCU shaping was a little bit difficult. The head is probably a little too angled. I feel like it should be more back. If anything else, I feel like it's kind of pointing up a little bit more. Also, his eyes got this weird like red X or like white X in there. I don't really know what that's all about. I also really don't like what I did for the legs. I think this looks bad. I don't know. I was trying to make them look like skinny robots. It didn't really work out. It worked for Geode, but it didn't work really well for Sketch here. Also, he's just got a droid head on his hand. It just looks like a droid head. I just put some eyes here. It would be a battle droid, right? It looks like he's puppeting a robot head. You know, it's very weird. It's supposed to be this weird baton kind of thing, but yeah, it's interesting. I actually really like the gun. I think the gun is like my favorite part of the entire drawing. The feet are kind of weird and clunky, but that's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's Sketch. It's nothing crazy. He's a little duelist guy. He's gonna run around, do GCU stuff. I kind of like him. I think parts of you also notice you probably have noticed a lot more like white shading as we've gone on, like a lot more like white streaks and like random lines and shit to try to replicate that rival's art style. That has been a very purposeful thing that I've been trying to do with the last few drawings, to really try to hammer the rival's art style home. Spawn didn't do that at all. This guy didn't really do it. It's something that I definitely started working on, especially in this part of the drawings, and you're going to see it a lot more going forward. Sketch's song is Astronomy by Blue Oyster Cult. Very interesting song. I had never heard it up until Kasai shared it with me. Pretty good banger. Next duelist is Astro Knight. I'm biased. I love Astro Knights, and this was very hard. I'm not going to lie. This was ridiculously hard to draw Astro. I had a very specific idea in my head, and nothing was really coming across. The torso was like impossible to figure out, but I think the end result does speak for itself. The head fin probably should be shaped differently. It probably should be faced angled a different direction or more like straight up, because the face is looking forward, but I'm not going to worry about that. The guns, so fun fact about the guns, I had such a hard time with Camilio. Astro was a better story because I literally took the gun, copy and pasted it. Now it was difficult because they were on different hands, so I had to draw a slightly different grip. But they are the same gun. So that was really fun to just draw the exact, to just copy and paste it. It's lazy, but it is what it is. You got the American flag here. You've got the jetpack, which is kind of understated. Probably should be a bit bigger, but I wanted to avoid the problems I had with like characters like Kasai. Also, wanted to show like flames bursting out. I was having a really hard time with that, so instead you've got sparks, which is like, all right. The boots are kind of overly simplified. It's kind of a simplified version of the character, if I'm being honest, but I do really like these shoulder pads, by the way. I think these are just the chef's kiss. I don't love this drawing. I'm going to be honest. I don't love this drawing of Astro, but I don't think it's bad. I like it enough, but I also do. I can see why it would be kind of underwhelming, you know? But I do like it. I like it enough. I think he's cool, and I don't really have a problem with him at all, but I definitely could have gone a little bit harder with certain aspects of the drawing. Astro's song ended up being Destination Moon by Dinah Washington. This is a song we've been listening to a lot while we used to work on Rocket Royale. Next up, we have a very interesting set of drawings here. We've got Vanguard, Professor Eon. Now, this is a Hulk situation, basically, because you look at this guy and you're like, how the hell is that a Vanguard? First of all, I had a lot of fun drawing this version of Eon. I love the face shape. I love how skinny he is. He looks like a smug guy. He looks like he's quite proud of himself. And I like the fact he's got a little bit more of like a lion face. He's got like the little lion nose. I think he should have ears, I will say. Him not having ears is kind of just a weird thing that stands out to me. Just like a personal thing. Like, it's literally something I noticed. I'm like, oh yeah, he doesn't have ears. That's weird. He's kind of messy. You know, this is not... I also like his little robot boots. I think that's fun. But this is a very simple drawing. And the reason why he's a Vanguard is because... surprise! He does this. He gets in his big, epic Crimson Crusher. This is based off of the Crimson Crusher 2.0, which I believe was going to be in Christmas Special 3. Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. This was a nightmare. Just an absolute nightmare to draw. This was horrendous. I hated every part of this. Specifically, getting these fists together to look like this. That I redrew these fists like 50 times. It was terrible. You can also tell because I kind of just gave up in this part. Like, this part's super intricate and overly detailed. I went way simpler down here because I was just kind of done. The head looks kind of weird. It's supposed to be a guy in the suit with his yellow shirt on. It's kind of hard to tell though. Yeah, just so many little details, so many intricate little nonsense going on with it. I kind of hated it, but I mean, I think it looks okay. I wouldn't even say it looks good. I think it looks okay. You know, I wouldn't say that it's like amazing, but I do think it looks fun. There's a lot going on. You know, it kind of just becomes visual noise at a certain point. But you could argue that's a lot of Rivals designs anyways. Now, if Rivals did this design, it would probably look a billion times better. God. But this was also kind of based off of like 3 images I could find, and they were all kind of blurry and hard to track, and it was very hard to get specific. It was a bit of a process. I'm not gonna lie. It was a bit of a hard process, but I mean, I think it speaks for itself. I'm pretty happy with it. So yeah, Eon's song is Weird Science by Oingo Boingo. Fun fact, that was the song that I was already thinking of, and then I messaged Thatch like, hey, what song do you want to use? And he was like, Weird Science. And I was like, ah, perfect. I should also clear something up about the songs, by the way, is like the reason why they have songs is because I used a lot of them. I listened to a lot of songs while I was drawing the character to give me like inspiration. So that's also another reason why the characters have theme songs. That's why I'm saying them. Taking a step back from the overly complicated, we got something a little bit simpler. We've got a little duelist Conan. I kind of like this little guy. He's a cute little guy. I've always thought Conan was a little fun little dude. I always wish we got to see more of him in universe because he's just a cute little guy with a fun little color scheme. I don't love the pants. I think I know what I was trying to go for, but it looks a little weird here. And then also, the face was really hard to get right. I wanted to give him like a little French bulldog pouty mouth. I tried to give him like a little lip, and it just looked weird. I can't explain it. It looked very strange. So I just left it, and I think it gets the point across well enough. I think you can get the idea. The holes in the face was kind of a weird decision. I was trying to... The first hole was done because of the hole in the mask that Conan uses. That was the first reason. And then I drew extra ones because I realized just having one hole there made it look like a nose. It looked like a dog nose, and it looked weird. So I wanted to avoid that. He's also got a little sniper rifle. Cute little guy. He's got a little tattered little... I kind of like there was actually... So the white on him isn't actually pure white. It's actually closer to like a purpley white, like a more gray white, which is actually kind of fun to just do that. Also the purple skin... Yeah, I had fun drawing him. There's not a lot to say, honestly. He's very simple, but I had a lot of fun drawing him. I thought he was... thought he was an entertaining little guy. I had a lot of fun. And the song that we ended up using, or the song that Ty gave me, was Wonder Boy by Tenacious D. We've got the duelist himself, Richter, you know, the scary guy, the epic the epic dude. This was based off of the custom action figure that Kasai had made for Thatch, and this was also based on the mock, obviously. It's kind of simple, honestly. I mean, Richter's design is already very cool, so I didn't really want to mess with it too much. He's got his jacket. I kind of love the, like, wire organ chest situation, or, like, stomach situation he's got going on. It's kind of fun to do that. Just kind of adds to, like, the scariness or freakiness of the character. The face was very hard to get right. And I still kind of think it looks a little weird. Like, I don't think the blue really turned out the way I wanted it to. I kind of wanted it to look like it was like an ethereal energy coming out of it, but it just doesn't really translate that well. The energy sword, I drew that. I drew so many lines on that thing. There's black lines, there's white lines, there's purple, there's blue. There's so much that went into that energy sword. I think it turned out pretty good. Legs are pretty basic. I do actually like the shoes. They're overly complicated enough, and I actually like that little bolt there on the top of the shoe cuff or whatever that's supposed to be. I think that's fun. Thighs might be a little big for my liking. If anything, I'd probably slim the legs down, make them look a little skinnier, but also kind of like adding that like slight muscular nature to the character because he is, you know, a bit of a powerhouse. So it was very fun to draw Richter. I had a blast drawing him. If it wasn't obvious enough, his song is Psycho Killer by Talking Heads, because it's just very, I guess, just makes sense, right? Next up is X4, who is a Vanguard. Now, if you aren't too familiar with this character, I don't blame you. This is X4, also known as Stalker. Fun fact, originally built by my buddy Cohen. Was a guy. My buddy came over, made a mock one day, and he was like, "You got to put this in your show." And I was like, "Sure, why not?" So I put him in the show. He got a little bit of a revamp when he appeared in Renzo episode 3. And then we kind of developed this idea of this character eventually coming back, and every time he came back, he'd be a little bit different because he's a genetic experiment who's always being experimented on, yada, yada, yada. This was very hard to do. I'm not going to lie. X4 is crazy. He's got so much layers and so many details and so much going on with him. It's kind of nuts. If anything, this is a much more simplified version of him. This is almost not Rival's art style, and this is also kind of cartoony, but there's also a lot of detail that went into this one. Oh my god. Like, all the lines and everything, yeah, it was nuts. The face shape, yeah, the shaping was the hardest part to nail about the drawing, and I think for the most part it came across pretty okay. I think the tail could be a bit better, and there's certain other things that I feel a little bit weird, like, for example, one of the cool things about Stalker is that he has like a little arm growing out of here that like is like wrapped around this big arm, and then eventually you get like the reveal in the Legacy of Light video that the arm comes off, and it's kind of like a cool like little detail. It's kind of hard to tell that that's even what's happening here, you know. And then he's got this big lumpy fist, which is supposed to be a big fist, but it just kind of looks like a big fat turd. You know, it didn't really. Also, his legs, his feet are pathetic. He doesn't even have feet. He literally just has nubs and then claws growing out of it. Just strange. But I think the energy of the character is there. I think he looks like how he should look, which is cool. I had a blast drawing him too. Like, it was hard, but it was also really fun. The song we ended up going for, the song that I ended up picking was Undefeatable it's a song that's in Sonic Frontiers for a very specific reason that you may or may not ever find out, but it is essentially his theme. Which if you ever listened to the song, the lyrics is literally talking about how like you can't beat this guy, which is crazy. Yeah, love it. Next up, Duelist, Jack Frost. Jack Frost's kind of an underrated character. I've always had a weird fascination with him. I can't really tell you why. He's just a little guy. He's a little funny little dude, and he's a creep who hits on Farah, and he gets his arm cut off. That's basically all he ever did. But I always really liked him. And I've always drawn him... I've drawn him a lot throughout the years. He's just one of those characters that always resonated with me. Yeah. So when I drew this and I sent it to Thatch, he actually really liked it. In fact, he liked it so much that this essentially became the way that he sees the character, which is very interesting. That really, like, genuinely made me happy to hear that. But also, it was very bizarre because this is how I've always sort of imagined the character. He's a little bit dapper. Regular Jack Frost ain't this dapper, but I gave him a nice little suit. And I gave him this, he's got a scarf, and I love his face. I am in love with the way that his face looks. He's a sick little bastard. Look at him. Also, his skin's supposed to be white. I think I drew it blue. Or maybe his skin's supposed to be blue and I drew it white. I don't know. So one or the other. Something like that. He's got an ice arm. He essentially plays like Luna Snow. He was actually going to be a strategist, but it just made sense for Jack's character to be a duelist because he's not a healing type of guy. He's a little bastard. So these little gold-plated shoes here. I mean, it's a very simple drawing. It's just a guy in a suit with an ice arm, and he's holding a big icicle. But that's it. I mean, he was so much fun to draw. I love Jack Frost. He's probably the most underrated Fodom character because he only appears for like a minute. But I absolutely love him. He's just so fun. The song we ended up going with was Hazy Shade of Winter by Gerard Way. Or Gerard, I don't know how to say that. Next up, we've got Vanguard Cataclysm. Now, Cataclysm is very difficult to draw because Cataclysm is kind of a bizarre concept. Because, it's inherently kind of confusing, and it's also kind of more of a force of nature. Whenever we usually see the Cataclysm, it's like in a shadow form. Now, the first time we ever got a tangible version of the Cataclysm is in the armor that the Cataclysm took on. This is kind of a version of that where we got to see the armored up version of the Cataclysm, but it's a little bit different. Rather than it being... like, I really wanted to lean into, like, this primal force of, like, chaos. And so it's wearing knight armor, like it looks like ancient old Dark Knight armor, but it's literally falling apart and it's literally cracking out of the armor. It's like barely containing itself. It's got the shoulder cape, which is just kind of hanging there. And again, it's kind of hanging on by a thread. Like it's not really fully there. It's barely there. And I kind of like how, like, some parts of it, like the leg, it's super, like, gooey and, like, venom and kind of creepy-ish. And it was just so fun to draw. It was very difficult, I'm not going to lie. But it was also a blast to draw this character and get the vibe right. It was so fun, man. I'm pretty happy with the design overall. Fun fact, we wanted to use a song, but it was copyrighted on Instagram specifically, so I couldn't use it. We wanted to use another song, and I also couldn't use that one. Then we ended up settling on Seven Devils by Florence Machine. It's Florence plus the Machine, I'm pretty sure, right? Anyway, you know what? This has aged better than I thought. When I first finished, I was kind of like, it's all right. Now I have kind of leaned into the fact that I quite like this. I'm quite sold on this concept for the Cataclysm. It's a difference, but it also kind of goes a little bit hard. Just a little bit. Not hard enough to the point where I can say that I'm full. Also, don't really like what I did with the foot. I was going for like a knight shoe, but it looks weird and fleshy. And it looks like it's lumpy. It doesn't look like actual like metal. I don't know what it was. I don't know. It didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. Chorus, my man Chorus, another character who I had a kind of specific vision for, but this was definitely a different version. This was absolutely supposed to be a new interpretation of Chorus. This was not a version that we were familiar with. This was a different take, and for it being a different take, I kind of like it. I'm Chorus also very heavily Punisher inspired. In fact, the pose is very Punisher inspired. I drew the head very like pointy and like stand-uppy because I usually draw it from the side, but I wanted to get much more of like a profile, not profile shot. I wanted to get much more of like a front shot. I'm actually very happy with it. I think he turned out pretty good. I like the fact that he's wearing like a little bit of a croc skin like outfit, like a green like army jumpsuit. I think that's kind of fun. He's got the glove too. I like the metal arm isn't like a generic metal, and it's like instead it's like more of like a blue metal. I think that's fun. The gun is super sci-fi and kind of generic, but hey, look, he's holding it by the trigger. Oh my god. Now, technically, if he was holding it that way, the gun would be firing, but don't think about it too much. Don't think about it. Yeah, I mean, this was a very, I will say the leg armor here is very generic. It's like you go from this, which looks all crazy and like intricate, and then you just go here and you're like, okay. I like the fact he's got like weapon canisters here. That's really interesting. His head is basically exactly the way I imagined Chorus, which is fun. Although, I am just realizing something. I think he does have the scar. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be the scar there. Although, I think Chorus is supposed to have a much bigger scar than that. So I don't know why I gave him a little tiny baby scar. He should have a bigger scar. Also, feet are ugly. But that's kind of the point. I was trying to go for an ugly foot, but they just look kind of gross. I don't think they really turned out the way I wanted them to. And then, obviously, his song is The Man Comes Around by Johnny Cash. Just a song I think about when I think about Chorus, and because he's kind of Western, he's a cowboy and talks like this. What the hell? Anyways, moving on. Another duelist with a kind of a similar approach. We've got Roach. Roach is another underrated character, in my opinion. He's a very cool character, and I was actually quite excited to draw him. He's a little bit more simplified than he probably should. Again, kind of backing out on the Rivals style a little bit, but I think he turned out great. I like a lot about him. He's another two-gun duelist, which there's a lot of two-gun duelists in this world, but hey, it's epic. I like the metal arm. I like how it's kind of like almost like a Metroid arm with the way that it comes out, how it's like this big old like giant round shouldered arm. He also has another side cape, but unlike the Cataclysm where it was coming out here, I actually wanted to make it go back here, which is fun. I like his big Chad jaw too. That was kind of a that was something that I kind of just threw in there, but I actually really like how that turned out. There's, he's not amazing, but I actually am happy with this. I do think that he turned out pretty good for the most part, and I don't really have too many complaints. I think he turned out okay. More detail definitely would have been appreciated. I definitely skimped out a little bit on the details in places, but yeah. I'm pretty happy with this version of Roach. I'm actually more than happy with this version of Roach. So yeah, the song that Kasai picked was actually he gave me like 5 songs to work with or something like that. I ended up picking "Show Me How to Live" by Audio Slave. Pretty banger song. All right, then we have the Vanguard Krampus, or Krampus if you're nasty. This was difficult. Man, I was very much having a hard time with Krampus. Just actually, the hardest part with Krampus was the hood. The hood was impossible. I don't know why drawing a hood was so difficult for me. I spent so long trying to get the shaping right. I think it's because I was trying to figure out how the hell I was going to do his face. By the way, very happy with how that turned out. I just wanted a little tiny eye. Just a little suggestion. Kind of like the Cataclysm. With a yellow eye. And then you get to see his little front teeth. I think that was a fun little detail. He's actually kind of simple. Like looking at this version of Krampus, he's actually very simple. Like there isn't like a lot of oh, what's under there? You can kind of just make the inference that he's just like a big, scary goat man. Because he's got regular arms, and he's got goat hooves. And there's nothing crazy about it. And he's also got like a goat tail. So he's not like, there's nothing real crazy about it. I love the dark red for the color. And I really like how the tusks turned out. Not tusks, sorry, those are horns. The weapon is very similar to, I think it was Yuri's weapon. Yeah. The chains were very difficult. I hate drawing chains. I hate coloring chains. It was a bit of a pain in the ass. But I definitely gave up with the chains on the bottom there. I was just like, I just filled in the color. I'm like, screw it. Those are chains. I did not want to have to draw a bunch of chains all over the guy. Chains are not fun to draw, dude. I friggin' hate chains. Just just shit. Yeah, I just just hate drawing chains, but yeah, I like him. I think again, the shaping and stuff is super basic, but I kind of like it because it kind of adds to his silhouette. You know, unlike Cataclysm, he's not like an intangible freak of nature. He's just kind of a big chungus who just runs around and smacks people and pulls people in with his epic chains. And he's always rattling. He's always ding, fries are done, ding. You know, that kind of shit. I'm going insane, dude. I've been recording this video for so long. By the way, obviously, the song is John Williams' Carol of the Bells. Krampus kicks so much ass. He's so cool. His weapon is literally just a big knife that he uses, and then it's got a big hook on the end with a bunch of change, which is kind of terrifying, if we're being honest. Also, he's got a little bell. He's got a little bell on the end. All right, another kind of obscure character here. We have the character Shepard, who is a strategist. Shepard has appeared very briefly in Life of a Knight. He's actually a super important character in the lore of the Spaceverse. Spoiler, I didn't say what his real deal is. This is another Life of a Knight representation that I really wanted, because originally I was going to go with Farlix, but Farlix has just kind of got another guy with a gun. So I kind of like the idea of doing a more specific, more interesting character. I went a little simple, especially with this character. A lot of his proportions are very cartoony, like he's super skinny, but I actually kind of like him. Like the cape is like super angular, and I kind of like the shaping of him overall. I do wish there was a little bit more white in his torso, but that's kind of how the mock looks too. And then the face was really fun to do. Overall, I actually had a lot of fun drawing Shepard. He was just a blast to draw. The feet are a little weird, but I kind of interpreted them more as like kind of weird. It's a very weird drawing, but I really like how he turned out. He's kind of, it's funny, shaping wise, he's almost kind of similar to Ultron, just in terms of like the shoulders and like how his body like tapers and everything. It's kind of very similar to Ultron, which Shepard would also be kind of a flying healer, I think. I don't think he would be flying. I think he'd be hovering most of the time, but yeah, it's kind of fun. Shepard's song is, the one that I chose was Spirit Street, or Fade Out by Radiohead. Radiohead's got some bangers. Couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do for Shepard, so I ended up landing on that one. Yeah, pretty happy. Then, of course, we've got Dee Dinkle, who is the absolute goat. I was so scared that Ty was not going to like this version of Dinkle. I was, like, really stressed out. So, first of all, Dee Dinkle is canonically a nudist. I didn't know how to draw that or interpret that, and I tried giving him, so Dee Dinkle has like a Liwa face crotch, and I tried drawing it and it just looked stupid. Like I couldn't make it look right. It just looked like it made it look way worse than it actually was. It made him look like he had something that he probably shouldn't have. So that was wrong. And then I gave him, he's got like a Rolex, I think. I don't even know what the hell that is. And then he's got these like armbands that say DD. He's got the golden chain. He's got some kicks, and I gave him shorts of all. The dude's got shorts on. It's ridiculous. And I was not confident in this drawing at all at first. It's a little simple, honestly, but Ty ended up loving it. And that's all that really matters. I was so scared that he wasn't going to like it, but I'm so glad he did. The face is gross and weird. He's got like that gold tooth. He's got a little purple tongue too, because he's an alien, right? He's got those frog red eyes. I don't really know what he's got like trans green on the mock, so I kind of interpret that as like some sort of weird like shoulder like piece that he was wearing. I don't even know. And then yeah, his shoes are a little weird, but they got little buttons and like yeah, it's a weird looking design, but I had fun with it, and it's simple. You know, it's not. Dee Dinkle, by the way, is the Luna Snow of Hapori Rivals. So instead of a pretty, Korean girl singing beautiful songs into your ear, you've got this friggin' freak rapping and healing all of his teammates. All going like, when I was a young boy. Just great. By the way, his song obviously had to be Load My Gun, which is the J Potato diss track that Dee Dinkle sings. So yeah, it is a song that Kasai made, which is great. I knew I wanted to do that really badly. Then we got another Kasai character. We've got the last of the GCU representation. We have the Vanguard Mograk, aka the GCU president. I had a bit of a time with this one. I think honestly, right here, this pisses me off. The shaping of that eye. It's like, this one's fine, but then why is this one angled? It looks weird. This was hard. This was really hard to get right. You can also tell I kind of gave up. Like right here, I kind of just shat the bed. I was like, instead of doing this cool like wrapped wire texture, I just kind of gave up. And I was like, yep, done. The feet are interesting. There's a lot of detail, kind of, but there's also a lot of detail. You know, like the shaping of things are kind of lazy. And I was trying to kind of figure out how the character would play and how he would move around. He's kind of slinky. Like, he's kind of got, like, these long limbs that would kind of probably slink in and out. Kind of like Mr. Fantastic. And as far as I understand, Mograk's a very physical dude. He doesn't use weapons. He's very up close and personal, and he just beats the tar out of people. So that's kind of how he plays. And that's how I imagine with the slinkiness kind of being involved. I don't think he's stretched like Mr. Fantastic, but maybe he does. I don't know. Interesting. Yeah, I actually really like the arms here, and then his pose is kind of interesting. But yeah, this was a very interesting experiment. This was one of the characters I was more uncertain about, but in the end, I am actually glad with how he turned out. For the most part, again, I think this is kind of lazy, and there's some parts that I wish I went a little bit more skinnier with the torso here, went more alien and freaky like. The song we ended up using for him, by the way, is "Hollow" by Submersed. Just kind of fit his freaky ass vibe. Okay, even less known than somebody like. Okay, this is probably one of the most obscure characters in the Haporiverse. We've got Malazor. Now, if you've been watching our stuff for a long time, you've probably heard the name Malazor mentioned a couple times. Maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I don't want to give too much away, but Malazor is essentially a bad dude. He's not a good dude. He's a very old threat. That's all I can really say. There was a mock of him. So he has appeared publicly. He did appear at a Brick Fair. I remember that. And this is sort of my interpretation of that mock. Now, I really had fun drawing Malazor. I imagine him very similarly to Magneto. That's why he's a Vanguard, where he's hovering and he's using magic. He's a lot of fun. The mask, you can see the how there. I actually really like the way how that turned out. I didn't give him a mouth. I did debate giving him a mouth, but I ultimately decided against it. I also gave him like this weird black fur. So he's wearing like a black fur cape, which is not on the original mock. That was kind of my own interpretation. Like he's wearing like wolf hides or some shit like that. Just something really weird like that. Some of the details could have been a little bit more. Also, fun fact, these are supposed to be Pohatu masks, which is really interesting. They are literally on the mock. They are Pohatu master masks, so that's why they're shaped like that. Some of the texturing on him is really interesting too. And I love doing the rust. Obviously, this is based off the Rusty How, and I think it looks really cool. I think it turned out good. His head is small, I will say. It was pointed out to me how small his head really was, but I think it's less about his head being small and more that everything else on him is large, is the way that you got to look at it. He has really big hands. He has massive legs. Like, he's supposed to be a jacked dude. He's huge, but his head is proportional. It's more like a size of a regular guy is sort of the way you gotta look at it. I love Malazor. He's such a cool concept. I hope you get to see him one day. Also, another use of yellow. Also, didn't put any shading on this yellow for some reason, but I did on the rest of it, which is weird. But yeah, I hope you guys get to see him one day because he is sick as hell. The song that we ended up using, if you want to get a little tease for what he's like, is the song called Am I Demon by Danzig Verotic. I don't know what the band is. Aiden sent it to me. Aiden's music taste is crazy. So yeah. To our final two characters, a 2-in-1 situation, we have the strategist combo of Afaria and Zaltorius. Now, y'all probably know who Afaria is. I would be very surprised if you don't know who Afaria is. It's the lady in the watch. It's Camilleo's little watch friend. Afaria used to be a woman, kind of a fairy woman. Now, I do have separates. Hold on. There you go. Better view of Afaria. This is kind of a different take on Afaria. This is one that's a little bit less, like, mythical and, like, you know, she's not wearing, like, a big old dress, and she's not super fancy with, like, long, elegant hair. This is much more of, like, honestly, she looks like an 80s, like, pop star or something. She looks kind of ridiculous, but I kind of wanted to go for, like, a weird, cosmic-looking, bizarre outfit. I had fun. I had a lot of fun drawing her. The wings were simple. I like the kind of cosmic bands around her. I like her armor in general. I'm much happier with her proportions than opposed to like someone like Farah. I think she turned out a lot better than someone like Farah. Her hair probably could have been a bit better. Her face shape is a little bit weird, but aside from that, I'm very happy with this version of Afaria. I think she turned out very, very well, in my opinion. Just in my opinion. Then we've got Zaltorius. Now, you probably know a little bit less about Zaltorius, but you might have heard him mention. I don't want to give too much lore away, so I got to be careful with what I say. But essentially, he is a elemental being and Afaria's husband. He's a person who has control of all 6 of the bionicle elements. Also, his mask is supposed to be the How, specifically the trans clear How that exists. Obviously, I took some liberties with the shaping there a little bit. I'm actually glad I took some liberties with the shaping because I just didn't want it to look too much like Kasai or especially Malzor, who also has a How. Went a little simple with some of the body on here. The mock, there's only ever been one mock of Zaltorius, or there's been 2 mocks technically, but one is lost to time. You couldn't find any photos of it. He's got a little skirt. I kind of like the idea of him being like this big guy who's like this big, almost, he's not a minotaur. He's got like goat hooves, I guess. Also, that's another thing. He does not have goat hooves. That was definitely my own interpretation. I just wanted, also, he's got a little elemental thing, a little crystal. It looks kind of cool here. And he's also got those wires that like Kasai and Miri and Takeru all have, which is fun up in the chest area here. He's obviously a 4-armed character, which is fun. Now, the reason why these 2 are together is because it's a cloak and dagger situation. So in gameplay, you would switch back between both of them. Afaria would be much more healing focused, while Zaltorius would be much more damage focused. So that's the idea. Also, their song is the Knights of Sidonia. You might have heard the word Sidonia dropped in the Hapori verse before. Knights of Sidonia by Muse. A lot of inspiration from Muse for these characters. So, yeah. This is kind of a drawing I threw together just for funsies. It's just kind of meant to show like what these characters would all look like together. Either way, thank you very much for watching. If you ended up watching through the entire thing, I'm sorry for rambling a lot of the time, but that was the whole point of this video. So I do really very much appreciate it. I'm probably not going to do a project like this anytime soon. But hey, maybe I will. I don't know. Overall, I do feel satisfied by drawing a lot of these characters, especially getting versions of characters that I've never drawn before and kind of setting my own style for them was a lot of fun. It really helped set some things up, which was a lot of fun. But it's also exhausting, and it's also a giant challenge, and it's certainly not easy, man. It is not easy at all. Like, it is a brutal challenge to draw as many characters as you... I don't recommend it. But it was a fun experiment, so that's all I can really say. Anyways, thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for watching, and look at this low-res Renzo. Cheers, and goodbye.